Hey there, wine fans. It's WineShark with you here again, talking to you today with another WineShark Takes video. We're going to talk today about wine in other words. So to get you guys some background on this topic, there was a great video by Sam Vivant this week called How to Taste Wine Without Using Any Technical Wine Terms. I'm a huge fan of Amanda McCross, and she's a sommelier that runs Sam Vivant, and you should definitely check out her channel. I'll post a link up here in the video. And the title is fantastic, really caught my attention. Although by the end of it, I kind of figured that the content alignment wasn't really at all what I expected. I came away with some great ideas and wanted to talk some about my own takes on the same topic. So bottom line is the video kind of talks about using a different language for wine, talk about the emotional and experiential connection that we have with wine and how to talk about wine in those terms. I'm fascinated by that topic, and I've used it in several classes of my own, but the idea that my left brain and my right brain can't really come to terms on is that my left brain can't get past the need for the establishment of a shared experience, language, and dialogue, that we need to find something in common before we can get to that discussion point. Her examples in the video are illustrious and beautiful, but not what I would consider common ground, because several of the things she mentions I don't have a baseline for in my own personal experience, which was a disconnect. And while I love the idea of talking about wine at that level, it wasn't quite the same thing that I was thinking of. So to put it on kind of my own terms, first thing is that in my world, flavor words are the common language where I think we need to start talking about wine. I totally agree with the idea of avoiding the technical. I mean, we could sit here and talk about tannins and acids and polyphenols and thiols and all kinds of funky cool science words and wine geek specific and jargon type stuff. Jargon is dangerous for any topic that can be perceived as complex, and especially one like wine, which can often be perceived as snooty or elitist. So we really want to be careful, but using common flavor words is a great way to find, I think, common language when we talk about how wine tastes. Finding your own sense of aroma and attaching it to your experience in wine is a skill, and it's often something we spend a lot of time teaching. Just like learning any other language, being able to express what you're tasting in your mouth using that vocabulary is a skill, and it takes practice to use that language. But the cool thing that Amanda brought up, and what I love talking about, and really when it gets to that engaging part of class, is talking about the emotional and experiential part of wine. Emotion and experience matter. I mean, when it comes right down to it, it's the why we drink wine. Not just the how, and not just the flavor, and not just the booze-a-hol in it. I'm talking about the what we really are looking for. So when we talk about emotions, feelings, and experiences, it's always a part of that wine drinking experience. The idea that the best wines you've ever had always have an emotional sense attached to them. In my opinion, this is largely because, especially when we talk about the best wine you've ever had, is because wine is very often associated with celebratory events, especially if you had, quote unquote, the best wine. You're most likely celebrating something at that time rather than, say, drowning your sorrows in that bottle of wine when you call it your best. I don't think anybody has that experience, and rare would be the bird that said, man, you know, that time I lost my job and downed a bottle of wine that night, boy, it was the best bottle I'd ever had. So that's really not a thing, right? But then there's also science that goes behind this. You can read papers and see all kinds of kind of scientific clues that point to you, not only in psychology, but also physiology, that point to the fact that memory and aroma are very highly linked. We are evolutionarily built that the things that we smell with our nose, that how our nose plays a part and how our sense of taste plays a part in keeping us alive in the world, is because it has to remember things like what was the smell of those berries that got us sick last time. And that emotional connection, I think, exists in so many other ways. And you can demonstrate several to yourself right now. I bet you can know the smell of, you know, what your mother's kitchen smells like, or have a fond memory or a smell attached to it, something like, say, a fresh mowed lawn or an autumn day. Those emotional experiences are attached to those aroma experiences, and they're linked in your memory, which is awesome, because wine can play a part in that same section of the world. Plus, you add in the dopamine reaction from celebratory action, plus the alcohol, and wham bam, thank you ma'am, you've got a classic case of wine is part of your life. It becomes part of your memories, and it's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it. So tell me about your emotional connections to wine. How would you find common ground to talk with those with other people about those topics. Leave me some messages down in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you like what we're doing. If you really like what we're doing, share with a wine-loving friend. And if you really, really like what we're doing, support us over on Patreon. You get exclusive content over there, additional conversations, and all kinds of fun stuff. So until next time, I've been your Wine Shark. Cheers.